Yeah.
Not quite 10:30. Or is it?
It's just
It is.
turned 10:30.
Just 10:30. Great.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll give everybody just a couple moments to join. Alrighty.
Who's that?
Good morning, Carrie.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem.
Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. We'll just give everybody a couple more moments to join. Thank you all for joining us today. As a quick reminder, if you guys just want to go ahead and put any questions you have for Sunita, Steve, or Carrie, go ahead and put those in the Q&A. And any technical assistance questions for me, go ahead and put those in the chat. Alrighty, it's looking like we're pretty steady at 60 attendees. Sunita, I'll go ahead and give it to you if you want to go ahead.
Thank you so much, Bree. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our 77th Wednesday session. Today, presented by the Finance Center of SBDC in Northern California. So let's go over what we do here, Northern California SBDC. We're supported by the SBA and also the state of California. So this is the way we can provide no fee advising for small businesses and provide these webinars to you. In the Finance Center, we specialize in getting loans for small businesses. So we help you package up your deal and get you loan ready. I am the director, Sunita Maharaj. We have Steve Roth here as well as the regional lending specialist. We have Carrie Ellenwood here from SBA. David Castaneda is here also at this time from SBA. And we have Bree Palmer here from our Finance Center that is going to help with any technical issues and then also update the chat with the documents that, that we're going to talk about during the webinar. So let's go over quickly about some housekeeping and disclaimers. The slide deck will be shared during this webinar in the chat. We also are going to have a Google folder in the chat that we've created that house all the documents that we talk about. So hopefully that'll be easier for you to access. The webinar is being recorded and it's going to be available at ASKSBDC.com. I believe we are on YouTube as well. And if Bree has that information, she can provide that to you in chat too. If you have questions, can you please put them in the Q&A? That's how it works here if you haven't been here before. Also, if you haven't been here before, welcome. And for all those that attend, welcome back. And in the chat, if you have technical issues, can you just place it in the chat and then Bree would be happy to help you. During asking the questions in the Q&A, can you let us know if it's regarding PPP or EIDL or other, so that way we know how to answer the question correctly, because sometimes it's difficult to differentiate which loan program or grant that you're talking about. Things are changing all the time, not as fast as before, but they are still changing quite often. Even during the webinars, these things will change, or right before the webinars, it'll change. So this information was current as of yesterday and a little bit this morning as well. Today, we're going to go over briefly the California Relief Grant, Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL and the Targeted EIDL Advance, SBA Debt Relief, the SVO or the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, Employee Retention Tax Credit. SBA team will give us their updates as well, upcoming webinars, and we will, throughout this whole program though, we will be answering questions. Steve is awesome at answering many questions in a limited amount of time. So thank you, Steve. Updates. So what's new? Unfortunately, SVO is not accepting applications as of yet. Carrie is going to give us a little update. We don't have specific day, but I know that SBA Disaster is working on that. All businesses must sign up for sam.gov. So I want to talk about this now, and also Steve's going to go over this later on. This, when the applications are opened up, this can stall your application because it will take a couple of weeks for you to get that application through the system at sam.gov. So I would suggest, if you're thinking about it, to go ahead and just do it immediately. To get info on lenders that are participating, please contact your local SBDC. This is for the PPP. So if you have not applied yet for the first round or the second round, contact us so that way we can help you find lenders in your area or outside of the area that can assist you. I also wanted to let you know that not much has changed. A few things have changed. I am going to go over a lot of the information that we have in the past, but we do get asked the same questions quite often, several times. So this is the reason why we keep giving you this information, to make sure that you understand what's going on with all of the new PPP2, the PPP1, and EIDL, and the targeted EIDL advance. So for the California Relief Grant, it has closed as of Monday at 6 p.m. So they are no longer accepting new applications at all. If you did not finalize your application, then unfortunately you would not be able to apply for this grant. We've had several emails come through last night, late last night, asking us if we could reconsider. We are just the technical advisor. Lendistry is the provider. They will review your application, and they will be the ones to make the decisions on who gets the grant and who doesn't. And the information on that, on people being selected, what groups are being selected, is on their website. So you can go to californiareliefgrant.com and find all that information. So the second round selection notifications are going to start going out as of tomorrow through the 18th. I would suggest that it's probably going to take them a little bit longer as it did the first round. So maybe the 11th through the 20th. Waitlist notice is going to be February 22nd. So if you happen not to make it through the second round, you will be placed on a wait list. I don't believe there's additional funds at this time, but they are hoping for additional funds for another round. But we don't know that for a fact yet, but this is the information that they've provided us. Non-selection notices will go out February 24th through the 31st. All communication will come from Lendistry. It will not come through the SBDC. So please look out for emails from Lendistry to see if you have been approved, declined, or waitlisted. PPP versus EIDL. What is the difference between the two? And why would you get one or the other, or why would you get both? You can get both at the same time as well. You just can't use the funds for the same categories. So for the PPP, it is a forgivable loan. The portion that is not forgiven can be a 1% fixed interest rate from 2 to 5 year term. Use the funds, you can use payroll costs, mortgage interest, rent, utility expenses, and PPEs. I will add all of that information in there the next time. Apply through SBA approved lenders. There is no collateral required. I will go over more uses of the PPP for the second that was released just a few weeks ago. So EIDL is not forgivable. It is a loan at 3.5% interest for profit businesses and 2.5% interest for nonprofits. It is a 30-year term. You can pay this off at any time. There is no penalty for paying it off early if you decide to do so. If you get the EIDL loan, your first payment is not due until the 12th month. Interest does accrue though from the day that you receive funding. Use of funds, working capital, inventory, fixed debt payments, and normal business expenses. You can apply directly through SBA on this EIDL loan. Loans over 25,000 is secured by a UCC filing. There is $100 deducted from their loan proceeds. So a lot of people had that question, why were they $100 short of their idle loan? And this is the reason why. So the PPP second round, who is eligible? And when can you start to apply? You can start to apply today. This will run through March 31st, 2021, or until the funds have been depleted. It's either funds depleted first or until March 31st, 2021. Make sure to include your SBA application number from the first draw. If you happen to be using a different lender for the second draw, your initial lender should have this information, but if you're going to a new lender, you will have to contact your first lender and ask them for the SBA application number, not the bank application number. Your maximum loan amount is $2 million. You had to has no more than 300 employees, which is different from the first draw, which is 500 employees. So this is what's different. So has no more than 300 employees. You had to have had a 25% reduction in gross receipts between comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. So you can compare your first, second, third, or fourth quarters for 2019 and 2020. Previously received a first draw PPP loan and will or has used the full amount only for authorized uses. So this is a great opportunity. If you have not received your first PPP, you can apply for that now as well. So you can apply for your first PPP, you can spend it down, and then you can apply for your second PPP also, just as long as it's before the March 31st, 2021. And if the funds are still there. You must have been in business as of February 15th, 2020. The application for the second draw is hyperlinked here, and then it's also in the Google folder that we are providing in the chat. All lenders can start participating as of January 19th, and most lenders are participating. Steve and I were talking about seems to be going a little bit slower now than it was the first round. And from our experience, it's because of the lenders they don't have their all employees working on the PPP loans. They have a group of employees now that are doing that instead of the whole bank is helping with this, because there's not as many PPP applications. So it's taking on average, let's say 10 to 15 days to get funded. It could take longer depending on your financial institution. For nonprofits, there's additional nonprofits that can apply for this round. It's the 501c3 organizations, the 501c19, veterans organizations, and an eligible nonprofit news organization, an eligible 501c6 organization, or an eligible destination marketing organization. Forgiveness terms. The loan proceeds are spent on payroll costs and other eligible expenses. At least 60% of the proceeds are spent on payroll costs. Employee and compensation levels are maintained in the same manner as required in the first draw of PPP. For loans under 150,000, there is a simplified one-page forgiveness form, which is hyperlinked here. It is also located in the document in the Google folder we've provided you. The 60-40 split still applies for both the new and the second PPP loans. So let's go over some terms. Businesses must commit to maintaining an average monthly number of full-time employees. Employees equal or above an average number of FTE employees during the previous one-year period. The amount that can be forgiven will be reduced if in proportion to any reduction in the number of employees retained, if any wages are reduced by more than 25%. The safe harbor rules are still in effect though, and the safe harbor rules are located in the Google folder so that you can review that and see if you can take advantage of the safe harbor rules. How do you calculate the loan amount? Borrowers can calculate their aggregate payroll costs using data either from the previous 12 months or from calendar year 2019. For seasonal businesses, you may use average monthly payroll between February 12th or March 1st and June 30th. An applicant that was not in business as of February 15th, 2019 to June 30th, 2019 may use the average monthly payroll costs for the period of January 1st, 2020 through February 29th, 2020. And these are the two documents on how you can calculate your first round PPP and how you can calculate your second draw PPP. So some of the limitations for the second draw, the maximum PPP loan amount is the lesser of 2.5% times the average monthly payroll costs and health care costs in the year prior to when the loan was received or within the calendar year, or 3.5 times the average monthly payroll costs and healthcare costs for all the businesses classified under Code 72. Some examples of that are hotels, casinos, and food service. Are some examples. You can look up Code 72, or you can also just, when you get this document, click on this button and it'll give you a list of all Code 72 businesses. Maximum loan amount is $2 million. Allowable uses for the PPP: payroll costs, payment of interest on mortgage obligations, rent, utilities. Additional usages are on the next page. Eligible costs for payroll for PPP, salary, wage, commission, similar compensation, payment, cash tips or equivalent, vacation, parental, family, medical, or sick leave or sick leave, dismissal or separation, group health benefits, including employer health insurance premiums, retirement benefits, and state and local taxes. We get a lot of questions a lot of time if federal taxes can be paid, and they cannot with this. So it's only state and local tax for payroll. Additional eligible expenses: the covered operations expenditures, payment for any software, cloud computing, and other human resources and accounting needs, costs related to property damage due to public disturbances that occurred during 2020 that are not covered by your insurance, covered expenditures to a supplier pursuant to a contract, purchase order, or order for goods in effect prior to taking out the loan that are essential to the recipient's operations. PPEs, so personal protective equipment, you can use the money for that. Previous PPP loans can also claim these costs as covered expenses pending the 60% payroll rule and as long as the loan has not already been forgiven. So some of the major updates that also came out of the new rulings: idle advance will not be deducted from forgivable PPP or reduced from forgivable PPP amount. You should already be receiving information from the lender in regards to this to make you whole. That loan that maybe was turned into a loan from the idle advance, that should be unwound as well. You should be in the next few weeks, month or two, getting more information from your lender. And I believe Carrie has additional information on how that's working. Clarifies covered period will be between 8 and 24 weeks. And it clarifies other group insurance to include vision and dental and eligible PPP expenses. Borrowers who returned all or part of their PPP loan funds may reapply for a first draw PPP loan. Taxes and deductions: expenses made with the forgiven PPP loan proceeds can be deducted from taxes. The gross income a business is required to report will not include any PPP loan that is forgiven. Gross business income does not include forgiveness of certain loans, such as the PPP forgiven funds, idle grants, certain loan payment assistance, and grants for the SVO. Some of the required documents that you should keep for a minimum of 4 years is any documents that relate to payroll and payroll related costs, employee benefits, utilities, rent, mortgage interest, and I will add the other documents here too. So PPEs, if you happen to use your second draw for that, and any of the other uses that are approved. The applications for forgiveness are here, and then we also have it in that Google folder. And now I'm going to hand it over to Steve, and he's going to take it from here. Thanks,
Great.
Steve.
Yeah, before we segue, There are 4 questions I saved for you and Carrie,
Okay,
which about PPP, which you might want to answer before we move forward.
sure. That sounds great. Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you again here today. Let's see here. Sole prop and PPP 1 forgiveness. My lender's portal says the SBA has reviewed my forgiveness application and determined my forgiveness amount. But it does not say the amount. My lender says they don't know the amount yet. How am I notified by SBA? Do they transfer the forgiven funds, loan and interest to the lender?
Hi there. I'll take this one, Sunita. Yes, Jennifer, that's correct. What will happen is there's a bit of a lag time between the time that we determine the forgiveness amount and the time that that reconciled amount is sent directly to your lender. It will include any interest that may have accrued for the part of the loan that is forgiven. So maybe a few days there. Your lender will be notified of that amount. It'll be applied against your Paycheck Protection Program loan. And then you will have, if you have a remainder balance that was not forgiven, that will continue for you as that 1% loan. If it's 100% forgiven, then it will be completely cleared, including any interest. If you had that forgiveness from a loan that would have had the idle advance deducted, that part will also be reconciled in there. And so you will receive that money back to that account, not due for your paycheck protection loan.
Thank you, Carrie. Let's
You're
see.
welcome.
Bob is asking, I have a second draw PPP loan open with my lender. The loan currently shows a hold code of number 17 on the SBA website. On the SBA website from the lender's computer. The SBA has an incomplete list of hold codes available online and doesn't include hold code 17. It says 17 internal SBA research hold, not publicly available. Is that something that the lender can respond to?
You can ask your lender to reach out to our Fresno Servicing Center, and then the lender can have that conversation with the servicing center, which they should have that 800 number. As soon as I get done, I'll go look that up and make sure we can put it in the Q&A for you. So yes, they should be able to help you with that.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
And Jennifer, sorry, Alicia is asking, Jennifer, what lender did you go through? If you can write that in the chat, or that would be great, or in the Q&A. Either way, Jennifer, we'd love to hear that answer.
And
Carrie,
just a couple of things, just
yes.
in general for the questions. Remember, when you do a PPP loan, you're applying to your lender. Your lender has to approve the application. The approved application is then sent to the SBA. The SBA provides a guarantee number for the loan after it does its work. It then sends it back to the lender, and the lender interacts with you, the borrower. The borrower does not interact directly with the SBA, because the lender is there to ask questions of the SBA as needed. The SBA has been turning around its guarantees in a day or two. So they've really been very, very efficient for PPP2 loans. It's been excellent. If there's an issue, it's almost always in the lender, not at the SBA. The lender is just not processing it, quickly enough, or you think it should be faster and they're not. So, and different lenders are processing loans at very different paces. Some are getting them done in a week. Others are not responding for 2 weeks. So but so far it's entirely on the front end of the process, not the back end of the process. And then one other thing is be very careful when you submit your loan amount for your PPP2 loan request. Just had a client who should have gotten 97,000, but is only going to get, or has gotten 42,000 in PPP2 money because they put the wrong amount on the application. The lender approved it, sent it to the SBA. The SBA approved it. The loan was funded. And then the client discovered that they had the wrong amount. You can only have one PPP loan per EIN number. Repaying that loan does not entitle you to getting a new loan. So after some back and forth with great help from the SBA's Fresno office, there was nothing we could do to help the client recover from the mistake they'd made. So when you look at this, make sure you check over your accountant, your bookkeeper. You know, the numbers are important. When you put them on the paper and they get approved and funded, they're done. Carrie, you want to add anything?
Thank you, Steve. No, you did a good job of putting that together for people. I also want to let you know, in regard to the questions about codes and what does it mean, please do converse with your lender if you have that kind of information. They will be able to help walk you through that. And as I said, the lender can contact the Fresno Servicing Center, which I'm pretty sure they have that number already. There has been a significant increase in workload for the Fresno Center because we have the PPP loans, the PPP2 loans, as well as the forgiveness running through that organization. They've ramped up with some temporary employees, and we are having them work overtime to try and get these things processed as quickly as possible. So please do be patient, and we will do our very best to take care of your loans. Thank you.
Good. So there are additional CARES Act programs, and I'll go through them. Next slide.
Okay, I want to answer a quick question. It's a
We'll go right ahead.
It's Kathleen is asking, what about workers' comp forgiven? Workers' comp is not an authorized use of PPP funds.
Thank you.
So that would not be forgiven, Kathleen.
Yes, that was the other one I flagged. Yeah.
Yes. And then it's a go. Thank you, Steve. I'll move
Very
it to the
good.
next page.
We'll get back to more questions in a little bit. So the additional programs, and there are several. There's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program called EIDL. There's the EIDL Appeal Program for people who've applied for an EIDL loan and have been denied. There's the Targeted EIDL Advance, which is a variation of the EIDL Advance from a year ago. There's several forms of SBA debt relief, a special program for venue operators who've been shuttered by COVID, and the Employee Retention Tax Credit Program. Next one. Very good. So the EIDL program reopened in January. The disaster loan program is the exception to the rule. It's basically the only program you apply to the SBA directly. There's no lender involved, and the SBA does the underwriting and the SBA funds you. The EIDL application hot link is in the slides, but it's easy to find if you go to www.sba.gov. The EIDL process will appear on the screen. It's a relatively simple application. The application period has been extended for the entire 2021 period, and the turnaround time so far has been excellent. I've had a couple of clients who didn't apply before apply this time, and they've been funded in less than a week or 10 days, as opposed to 12 or 13 weeks a year ago. So the SBA has made phenomenal strides in improving the program. And you can get up to $150,000 depending on your particular circumstances. It is a simple application. And so it's gone very well. Next one. If you have been denied the EIDL loan for whatever reason, this process is different than it was a year ago. You have up to 6 months to be reconsidered for a declined loan or to ask for a loan increase. If you applied for EIDL and were denied, do not reapply. Your second application will simply be rejected because you've already got an application in the system. You can only have one EIDL loan per EIN, employer identification number. And if you do reapply rather than going through the appeals process, you're only going to slow things down for yourself. The SBA set up a separate and dedicated appeal group They have their own telephone number and their own web address. And so you need to take the appeals process through them. It is slow, but it is working. I've had 4 clients come out of the appeal process and been funded. So whatever documents the SBA team needs, send it to them, communicate with them, but it's not something that we at the SBDC or even the SBA's regional office, can get involved with any longer. It's a dedicated team, a dedicated process. We have to go through them, but it does work. Next one. All right. The targeted idle advance. So going back a year ago, if you applied for an idle loan in 2020, there was a box you checked on the on the application, which gave the number of employees you had and whether you wanted the emergency advance. If you said yes to the emergency advance, you received $1,000 per employee up to a maximum of $10,000. This year, it's a targeted idle advance. Congress has dedicated another $20 billion for the targeted idle advance program, and it will balance out previous idle advances up to $10,000. So if you have 3 employees and you got $3,000 a year ago, you could get another $7,000, giving you a total of $10,000. Those who applied for the idle advance but didn't receive the funds due to lack of funding can still get the full $10,000. But this is a little different because the SBA is simply going to reach out to those who may qualify via mail with instructions on how to apply and what the eligibility requirements are, as opposed to an open application in the early stages. Long term, there may be an application, but in the short term, the SBA is going to do the work for you. Next question, next slide. Right, so what you want to have available is your 2019 federal tax return, know your employer identification number or your social security number if you're self-employed, a contractor, your financials, and you can confirm information in the original idle application is still accurate. The targeted idle advance was for people in specific census tracts that had been especially hard hit by COVID or were low economic, were at a income below the national average. So the SBA is going to find you, at least in the beginning. It's a great program because remember, the idle advance is a grant as opposed to a loan. One other thing about the idle advance, for people who filed forgiveness early on PPP-1 loans, in the early stages of the forgiveness process before the December 27th, 2020 new stimulus program was passed, the idle advance you received in 2020 was deducted from your PPP forgiveness. That's been corrected in the new law, and the SBA is working offline to go through all of the forgiveness applications and fix it for you. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to reapply for forgiveness. The SBA is going to handle that on the back end and get money back to people who lost forgiveness because of the idle advance if they applied early or if they got forgiveness prior to December 27th of 2020. Next one. Right, there are several forms of SBA debt relief, which are all great. Second round loan payments, all borrowers with qualifying loans approved by the SBA prior to September 28th, 2020, will receive an additional 3 months of principal and interest payments starting in February. So that's 90 days worth of deferrals. If you're an underserved borrower, namely the smallest and hardest hit, you can get an additional 5 months or a total of 8 months. If you apply for a new SBA loan and get approved during the February 1st to September 30th period, the first 6 months of newly approved loans, will also be part of the overall forgiveness program. All of these are capped at $9,000. So if you have a $10,000 a month loan payment, the first $9,000 would be deferred or paid, and you pay 1,000, you pay the balance. If your monthly loan payment is less than 9,000, then it will simply be deferred. So this is a combination of loan payment deferrals offered by lenders and actual payments to the lender by the SBA. And the best thing for you to do is to simply contact your lender for more details. If you have an existing SBA loan, your lender will know and they'll be happy to help you. If you're applying for a new SBA loan, again, talk to your bank. The bank will tell you what parameters you fit into and how that'll affect your cash flow for the first 6 months after you get the new loan. Next one, it's great programs. The SBA also has the ability to do loan enhancements. So if you're a new borrower, your SBA fees will be waived for all 7A and 504 loans. Some bank fees may also be waived, but some bank fees may also apply depending upon the lender. The SBA's ability to guarantee or backstop new loans has gone from about 75% up to 90%. Again, trying to make the loan more attractive to lenders. And so it should make it easier for people to qualify for new loans. And the SBA Express Loan Program, which is broadly available from lenders of all kinds, had been capped at $350,000. It's now $1 million. Again, that's the goal there, is to put more money into the system, especially for small borrowers. And the 504 program, which is a real estate-based program, the 504 lenders now have a great deal more flexibility to approve loans and move things forward for loans under $500,000. So if you're buying real estate, buying the building you're in, it can make the process go a lot faster. And there's a series of microloan programs which are available through banks, but also through community financial institutions of all kinds. And these have all been increased and augmented through the legislation for COVID-19. So it's a good time to talk to either us at the SBDC or your current banker. We go online, look for people who are part of the micro lending program. We're doing deals, which is good news. Next one. Next slide. There you go. As many of you may have heard, there's a special new program for shuttered venue operators. It's a complicated program, but if you do operate a theater, a music venue, anything where people can't come because of COVID, the best thing to do is to use this hot link, look at the instructions, and you get to sign up before the program goes live. But it will provide separate grants to people in this industry, theatrical producers, live performing arts operators, museum operators, motion picture operators, etc. The one thing is you can't do a PPP2 loan and get a shuttered venue operator grant. So you'll need to look at which program would offer the greatest opportunity for you and the time frame involved in doing one or the other. Next one, but it's a brand new program, right? And so this grant is going to be administered by the SBA Office of Disaster Assistance. The program will be operational soon, the end of February. But again, you cannot get a PPP2 loan and get the shuttered operators grant. So you want to take a look at the criteria for the shuttered venue and decide which program would offer you the greatest advantage before you go forward. But don't get the PPP2 loan as a matter of course, and then not be able to get the shuttered venue operator grant if it's indeed going to be of more benefit to you, if you fit into one of the categories. Next one. Right. So shuttered venue operator grants, right? The eligibility would include live venue operators, theatrical producers, live performing arts centers, museums, zoos, aquariums that meet the criteria of the program, motion picture theater operators, especially independent ones in cities and towns across the country. Talent representatives could be included. And so go to the SVO grant at sba.gov and get more details, and just be on the lookout for more information. And as things develop, we'll add it to our weekly program. Next one. The other part, the last one, is the employee retention tax credit. If you cannot get a PPP2 loan, you may qualify for the ERTC. The ERTC is a tax credit, so it'll work off your tax returns. And this is something you should talk about with your tax preparer, your accountant, CPA, tax lawyer. This will go through your tax return for 2020. But if, for example, one of the gating factors to the PPP2 program is that sales were down by 25% or more in any one quarter of 2020 versus 2019. If your sales were not down by 25% in any one quarter compared to the same quarter in the prior year, you wouldn't be eligible for a PPP2 loan, but you could get the employee retention tax credit. And so it's a great backstop to PPP2, but it's something you want to talk about with your accountant. Next one. I think that's done for me. Here we go. I'll go back to Sunita.
Thank you so
And I'll
much.
try and answer some more questions.
Appreciate that. There's a lot of very interesting questions in there and some hard questions and good questions, because things are a little bit confusing with the applications and such. So hi, Carrie and David, thank you so much for being here. I will let you guys take it over and provide us any updates that you have.
Thank you, Sunita. I'll be happy to do that. I'd like to start off first with how many of these paycheck protection loans have been made during this second round. There have been 1.2 million loans made for over $100 billion during that time with 5,000 lenders. So those are some good numbers for us. The loans are averaging in the $70,000 range, and most of them are the second round paycheck protection loans. Not as many first round loans are being made out there. I would like to also comment on what Steve had mentioned. The program for the EIDL Advance is a very limited and targeted program at this point, so you won't be able to go and apply for that. It's not available that way. The way that it's available is specific individuals who received less than $10,000 on their first EIDL Advance will now be made whole for that $10,000. So what that means is if you received $5,000 when you receive that EIDL Advance, you will receive an email from SBA. The email is going to end in sba.gov, and it will ask you to provide us with some additional information. And I'm not going to run through that with you, but this is a legitimate email, and they do need to have some additional information to verify the eligibility for that advance. The second thing is, on the shuttered venues, that program is not currently accepting applications. As Steve mentioned, it will be a direct grant from the SBA, and you cannot apply for the PPP2 and the shuttered venues grant. You need to speak with your bookkeeper or your accountant and figure out which one of those two options are going to be best for your organization. So stay tuned on that one. We'll have more information coming on the website. We're anticipating soon. I don't have a date or a guesstimate of time, but that option will soon be available to you. The other thing I do want to mention is this is Black History Month, and we do have some webinars that the district is putting on every Wednesday, the 10th through the 24th. And they're going to talk about resiliency, recovery, and some successes that small businesses have been able to have during this pandemic. Let's see. We also have a new set of slides that have more information on the pandemic available, and Sunita will be able to share that with you today. I want to take a look and hit a few high points on those slides for you quickly here.
I may not be able
So-
to share. Sorry, I didn't, I don't know if I opened up that email right before this. So we will share it with you next week for sure. If we don't get it.
Okay. Thank you, Sunita. Okay, so I'll just kind of run over some of the high points of that. If your PPP loan is not forgiven 100% and it was the first draw, as Steve mentioned, we're going to have to reconcile not only your forgiveness payment, but also any of the advance that you received. So that will be returned to you because it was deducted from that original PPP loan. So again, this reconciliation is going to take some time, but we are starting to work through that process a little more quickly. So do be patient with your lenders as they're accepting your forgiveness applications. They have some different platforms that they may be using, and then they will then have to review your form and then send it to SBA. The lender has 60 days to do that, and we also have 90 days to do that. On the larger loans, it is taking more time than it will on some of the smaller loans. I saw some questions about lenders and forms and a loan being $150,000. That's going to be a need for you to go back and make sure you used the form that SBA has recently approved for the $150,000 or less. So please reach out to your lender again, the individual that had that question, and see if they can assist you with making sure the correct loan form is submitted to them and to SBA. And that's all I have for today. David, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you, Carrie. I just want to, this is sort of a timely webinar that's going on, and this is through the Women's Business Center here in Northern California, but no matter where you're at, you can, attend this webinar. This is going to be on the 11th of February, which is
I'm sorry, David, we lost you. Sorry, everyone, we lost David. When he comes back, he can be able to give us that information a little bit later on.
Sunita, I can jump in real quickly. Okay. And we are doing some very good webinars. They can all be found on our SBA calendar for the district office at sba.gov/CA/Sacramento. That'll take you right to our landing page there. And on that homepage, you will see our calendar. And those events you'll be able to scroll to all the different webinars that we have going on here at the district. And as David mentioned, you can join into any of those. The links and resources on how to access will be there. They have some specific ones about the current COVID options for small businesses, the resources and things like that available, as well as a few others in regard to marketing in this new environment and working on your business plans and financial information.
Carrie, I made it back. I got cut off right at the perfect time. But yeah, there's a general small business tax workshop that would probably be of interest to a lot of small business owners and consultants to know about. Again, that's tomorrow, February 11th at 9 a.m. I'll put the link in the chat box, but also again, a lot of the SBDCs around the country, again, and around California, they are also having a lot of good webinars, again, geared towards tax preparation, things like that. So, take a look at those webinars that are going on because they're pretty timely right now. And I have to say, some of them are looking at the new IRS rules as it pertains to all these economic relief programs. So they're very helpful for people to take a look at those webinars coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So we will go over some questions right now before we go to our upcoming webinars. I wanted to make sure we answered some of these questions. They're great questions. I know that Jennifer gave us the information on she used Fremont Bank for her first PPP one and her second. So somebody was asking that information. So there it is. It's Fremont Bank, and she's had some really good experiences with that bank. Let's see here. Victor, one lender we spoke to said they were out of funds and weren't accepting any more PPP applications. Have you heard that too? We have not heard that, Victor. It might be that lender is stopping their PPP. Is it a larger bank maybe that is stopping it? But if you'd like other lenders information, please reach out to us. Carrie, is there some lenders that have spent down all their PPP funds?
It's not that they've spent down, excuse me, funds issued to them. It may be their institution's decision to stop participating in the program for a variety of reasons. And yes, as Sunita said, you can find the lender information on the SBA website for you to search and reach out to another lender for you to use. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Rhonda is stating, I started my business in January of 2020 and I'm still waiting for my tax preparer to complete my 2020 taxes. Can I still submit a copy of my 1099s for my clients as proof of the income for PPP? So like last year when you were applying for PPP, even if you did not complete your Schedule C, you had to have provided a Schedule C that was, to the best of your knowledge, going to be your final document. That is what you were going to file with the IRS. So that is the document that they're looking for. They're not looking for your 1099s. They're looking for the Schedule C document. Martha is saying, I am a sole proprietor independent contractor. I have both 1099 income and Schedule C and W-2 income on my 2019 tax return. Can I add both income sources to reflect my actual total income for a PPP loan? No, let's answer that first. And no, you would not be able to. You would have to use your Schedule C income. And if you're W-2, that's not where your Schedule C income is located. That's located on your first page of your tax return. So you'd only be able to use the Schedule C income line 31, net income, for your PPP loan. Or can I use my 1099 gross? You won't be able to do that either, which is far lower than my W-2 income. That's correct, because the paycheck protection plan is going to be for you as an independent contractor, not you as a W-2 person, because your employer could actually get a PPP as you as the employee. W-2 income is from jobs. So I hope that answers the question. Cheryl, let's see here, or Mary is saying, we lost our employees and we are just operating the business as sole proprietor and taking a salary. Will this eliminate us for the second PPP loan? We will be considered for forgiveness of this loan if we apply, are able to apply. Mary, we're going to need, I believe I seen your name a couple months ago. So thank you so much for joining us again. We were going to need more information from you because we need to see if you're going to fall into the safe harbor protocol that SBA is using. So we don't know if you would be able to get forgiven or not. And the reasons why you don't have employees, is it because of the state mandates, those types of things. So we're going to need more information from you. If you don't already have an advisor, please sign up as a client and we will be able to help you. And Bree will put in the chat the how to become, the link to become a client of the SBA. Let's see here. Eileen is asking, sorry, jumps around a little bit. A general contractor has contacted me in regards to the PPP. He paid subcontractors through a payroll company and lists the contractors in his taxes. However, did not file a 941 form. Does this disqualify him for the PPP? Please advise. Thank you. It would not disqualify him for a PPP, but if the subcontractors do get a 1099, he wouldn't be able to use their income to qualify for the PPP. I'd need to see the document that you're talking about to make sure that you're using the correct forms. In the Google folder, you will see there are documents showing how to qualify for a PPP loan. Please go over that, and that's how you would help qualify that contractor. That's the information that you're going to need. It's going to tell you step by step for a independent contractor, a schedule, so Schedule C or S Corp or any of those other forms that you'll use for taxes. So please go onto the chat and look at that document. You're also asking, Eileen, I believe your contractor is using his Social Security number, not his EIN number. I believe they could get that EIN information, but when did that change? I know you said they lost their EIN number. How long ago? So in the last several years, have they just been using their Social Security number? Then it shouldn't be an issue because that's how they're filing their taxes. But I guess we have more questions for you, unfortunately, in regards to that. Let's see here. We have about 12 more questions. I am going to go to our upcoming Finance Center webinars. So we are going to continue these Wednesdays. It seems like we still have a good amount of people joining us, and let us know if this is still helpful to you. If you can put that in the Q&A, just let us know, are these webinars still helpful to you? The next time around, we will create a poll for everybody. I'm sorry I didn't create one today. Is this still helpful for you? Do you want this to continue, or do you want this to move to every other week? So thank you, everyone that is going to reply to that. So we're going to continue February every Wednesday, and tentatively right now throughout March on Wednesdays as well. And then here for the NorCal region, our region also puts on regional webinars. Some of them are already passed. So let's go to the 11th here, planning your business. On the 18th is financing your business. And then on the 22nd and 24th, checklist to opening a restaurant. That is some great information for you. I think that you should join if you're thinking about opening up a restaurant at all anytime soon, or maybe in the future. Please join opening up a restaurant. You can find us, all this information and these events at sbdc.events/network calendar. And then also we have webinars that we've presented a few months back or just recently, and that is located in our library. So you can access that at learn.norcalsbdc.org. Sorry. This is our information. If you need to get a hold of us, I believe the best way at this point in time is loans@asksbdc.com. In the subject line, please put PPP or EIDL, or if you're looking for other disaster loans, in the subject line, so that way we can pick it out very easily. We're getting a lot of grant questions, so we want to make sure that we can differentiate what questions or people need to get answered. So let's see here. Let's go back to answering some questions. Steve, thank you so much. We've answered so far 67 questions. So thank you so much for everybody for asking them, and thank you, Steve and Carrie, for answering them. Cheryl, my question is regarding forgiveness for the first PPP. My loan was for less than $150,000. I sent in the forgiveness application at the end of December 2020, but still have not heard back from the lender. Will my PPP 1 be forgiven automatically since this less than 150? And more importantly, will the 10,000 EIDL grant that I also received turn into a 1% loan? So Cheryl, the advance should not turn into a 1% loan. And if you applied in in December 2020, the lender has 60 days to submit your application request a forgiveness request to the SBA, and then SBA has another 90 days to get them that answer back to you. So, you know, that's still in the works. And let's see here. And your idle grant should not turn into a loan. So it's kind of good that you don't have the information yet, so that way they're able to do it correctly with the new laws. You haven't heard back yet from the lender. I would email the lender and see how things are going. They're probably inundated with PPP too, so I would definitely reach out to them. Alex, I'm so sorry I didn't get to this question before Carrie had to jump off, but maybe David would be able to answer this question. For the idle, I have requested address update on my existing application by email on January 13th and sent a follow-up on February. On February 3rd, I got a response that said, we have notated your file and appreciate your patience while your application is being processed. I believe the address update will improve the priority for the targeted idle advance. Is this wait time normal, or shall I do something like a phone call or another email follow-up? This wait time is typical, Alex, and you had to have applied for your advance prior to this. So they're going back to people. There is no way to apply for an advance at this point in time. And it will not help your chances to get it, because at this point, they're going back to people that have received it previously or did not receive it before. So they're going to them first. If the funds happen to run out before they open it up to others, and we don't know what the mechanism is for that, so I don't believe that that's going to help your chances at this point in time. So Linda is asking, can a 501c6, and I believe the 501c6 was one of the new ones, wasn't it, Steve?
Yes.
That could apply for the PPP?
There are associations.
Okay, perfect.
Like local realtor associations or other organizations that work for the benefit of members.
Okay, thank you. Anne is saying PPP, if we have an employee on work share program, EDD, due to lack of work, what do we need to do to meet the FTE employee amount? I would need to get more information from you, Anne Marie. So are they working some? Are they working none? Can you use 50% if they went part-time? If you don't have enough work, why don't you have enough work? Is it because of the mandates from the state that you can't open up fully? Do you work at a restaurant? So you see that there's so many questions that need to be answered to answer your question. If you don't already have a advisor, and I would say to please reach out to a local center and to get an appointment, so that way we can help you, walk you through this, because unfortunately it's not a yes or no answer. We need more information to be able to provide you the correct help. Steve, let's see here. I missed Steve's response, Mike, as to whether I qualify for the Shuttered Venues grant as a makeup artist who has been greatly affected by the Shuttered Venues COVID. Can you please go over this again? Thank you. Hi, Martha. Your information, there is a document in the Google Drive, Google folder that goes over who can apply. The application is not updated yet. And I don't know, as a makeup artist, if you are one of the groups that can apply, to be honest with you. Steve, do you happen to know?
I don't believe it's covered, no.
Okay.
But rather than answering, I wanted to, because it's for venue operators, not for people who work in the venue.
Right.
So I believe that she would just apply for a PPP 1 or PPP 2 loan using her Schedule C as the basis for the PPP loan.
Perfect, thank you. Because I know it's production companies that are allowed to apply. I think that was one of the
Right.
But
it has to be a venue operator, a museum, right, a zoo, an aquarium, a motion picture, a movie theater. not an individual in the business. The only difference that I saw was if they were talent agents, but then it would be the agency,
Right.
not the talent scout that would
Be able
apply.
to get that. So, and that information, if you need the written information, it is in the Google folder under SVO.
There were a couple of others I clicked on, so they should be at the top.
Okay, Steve is asking, I have applied for EIDL and it was approved. At that time, I was approved for my first PPP grant for $20,000. Okay, so your PPP loan was $20,000. Okay, I did not take the EIDL. I was told since I have PPP, I cannot have 10,000 EIDL free grant at the same time, but I just heard you indicated people who receive PPP can apply remaining EIDL grant if they did not receive the full amount. Can I go back and request the EIDL 20? So unfortunately, Steve, you can't go backwards. At that time, they may have run out of funds when you are going to apply for the grant. The EIDL, which also had the EIDL advance, the advance money did deplete at one point in time. If you did receive the EIDL advance and you only received $1,000 instead of the total of $10,000, then they will be going back to those businesses to make them whole up to $10,000. But there's also a caveat. So it's a targeted advance. And we went through all of the stipulations that you have to provide to SBA to be able to get to the $10,000. So it's not automatic. And Steve, if you did qualify, then they would reach out to you, but you cannot apply for it now. You can apply for EIDL now. I'm sorry, you already applied for EIDL. If you decline the EIDL, you would go through reconsideration to see if you can get that loan back. And Steve, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, thought that was perfect.
Okay, thank you. See here. So Alicia is asking, will another lender approve their SBA since Cross River, she's having an issue with Cross River Bank getting a hold of them. You can only have one application. If the other bank tries to apply for you, it will already show that you have one active. So you would have to cancel your application with Cross River Bank or Cross River. And I don't know if it's a local lender or if it's an online lender.
Yeah, I've never heard of them. Have you?
I have not either. I have not either. So, you know, that you're kind of in the middle right now with that, being able to, you know, if you email them and had them cancel it, I don't know if they would be able to cancel it right away. And I'm not sure what the issue is with the holdup at the bank. So maybe tomorrow reach out to them again and hopefully they'll have an answer for you. I'm sorry we can't be more assistance. We just don't have a relationship with Cross River Bank. And as I stated previously in a typed answer to you,
and as I said earlier, after Sunita finished the detailed part about PPP loans, the SBA's turnaround time has been a day or two. So from the time the bank approves the PPP loan and then forwards it electronically to the SBA regional office, the SBA has been reviewing them and approving them in 24 to 48 hours, almost without exception, and sending them back to the bank for funding. So if there's a long delay, I don't believe it's part of the SBA. I believe it's going to be part of the lender at the front of the process for whatever reason.
Perfect. Thank you. Also, I know that people are giving us information and it's great information, such as Jennifer. Your lender is going to ask for possibly different documents or and they are willing to accept that document as evidence of your income for your second round. So Jennifer is saying that they used the payroll documents from 2019 taxes as sole prop. that I gave them for my PPP1, since I wanted to use the higher 2019 income for PPP2. So if your lender is allowing you to do that, then that's what your lender is allowing you to do. Not all lenders will do that, since SBA is stating that they want a 2020 Schedule C to reference those documents. And you'd need to have your, of course, 1099s to back up that income. So thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that information. Let's see here, Steve. Hi, Steve. Good to see you here. Sorry, this keeps jumping around. My lender says that they don't know what that means. I'm not sure. Are you talking about the hold codes, Steve? And need to get in touch with SBA, but can't get to speak to anyone at SBA in person. This is a recorder message saying go back to the lender. That's correct. Like Steve says, the hold codes are hold codes for the lender. If the lender does not know what they mean, they should, because SBA is constantly sending out updates to lenders and all of us in regards to the hold codes. They would need to contact the Fresno office. And I'm not sure if Carrie put that information in there. If was she able to put that information in there, Bree, for the Fresno office?
You did not, but let me see if I can find it.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me see if I have it here in my documents too. Sorry, I don't have that. I apologize. So they would need to contact this Fresno Service Center, and I'm sure they have that information. I'm 100% positive that their SBA division has.
Or they can just become I would recommend, rather than doing that, would be to become a client of the SBDC. So someone can help you up front,
Steve,
and then we can deal with the SBA. It will be a lot more efficient process.
He's one of our advisors, Steve.
Oh, didn't know that. Well, I'm happy to help them then, just to keep the volume of emails down to Fresno.
Yeah. Let's see here. Jennifer saying, if you switch to webinars every other week, please include the case force lawyers on them. Lawyers that can answer taxes and landlord rental questions are particularly useful. Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, case force does join us every other week. They can only answer COVID related questions. So if it's related to COVID, they can answer it, but they can't answer general questions. So just an FYI, I want to make sure everyone knows that. Alicia, I believe that you should please reach out to your advisor and see if they can help with any of that. Elizabeth is stating SBA has not reimbursed my lender the 10K grant for the first round, and they are charging SBA interest on that loan. Is that something I should be concerned about, or it's out of my hands? This is how my bank statement reads 2 days ago. I would let them work it out, because they will work it out and they will reimburse the lender any monies. So don't worry about it. You shouldn't have to get involved. It is between SBA and the lender. Okay, we have answered about 98 questions so far, and if we will stay on for just a couple more minutes, please let us know if you have any more questions or anything else in regards to upcoming webinars. If you are not a client yet, you can get signed up in the chat. There is the sign up link. So that way we can help you a little bit more one-on-one. Sometimes it is difficult to answer the very detailed questions on these webinars. It's easier to answer questions that are, I guess, more vague than very detailed, because then we'll have to look at some documents and those types of things to make sure we're answering your questions correctly. Okay, I don't see any new questions coming through, so we really appreciate Appreciate your time, everyone. We look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, we will have Case with us. And let's see here. Just one more question from Anna. My lender sent my application on the 21st, and there was an error about the amount of employees. They are waiting for the SBA to respond on how to fix it. Is there anything I can do to fix it? No, there's nothing that you can do to fix it. It's between the lender and SBA at this point, since you have no way to contact anybody. It's been 3 weeks and they have not responded to my lender, and my lender has no answers. You could send us your application number, Anna. If you can send it, if you can put it, send it to loans@ASKSBDC.com, and please put that you are here at the webinar, and put this exact information in there. But we will need to get more information from you, so we might be able to see into the portal for you or have somebody check for you. But if we give us that information, then that way we can do that for you. Can you have a late afternoon workshop so that we can attend? These are available via, our website, so you can watch these later at any time. Right now, it seems like we have the best turnout at this time, so that's why we've been keeping it at this time. Phil Postal, so I believe that we're going to continue. There are other TA providers and also local centers that are doing things that are later in the afternoon. I know I was working with Alameda, and we did one at 3:30. So just check out our calendar and see if there is another one available. It won't be this one, but there are others available as well later on in the day. So thank you, everybody. We will see you next week, and gratitude to you also for all being here. Take care. Bye.